Today, we're making Bun Mang Vit, a traditional Vietnamese noodle soup that features duck and bamboo shoots as its primary ingredients. Bun Mang Vit gained popularity in northern Vietnam, where its climate and agricultural practices support duck farming. But this dish can be found all over Vietnam. This is such a nostalgic dish for me and something that always brings me back to my childhood and spending time with my parents. Today, we'll make my version of it, plus we'll make the side salad or goi and the ginger fish sauce dressing that goes with it. If you love Bun Mang Vit as much as I do, make sure you like, comment, save, and share this video. Alright y'all, remember to wash your hands. My recipe utilizes two different types of dried bamboo. This darker one I got from my mom that she picked up in Vietnam, and this lighter one is the one you can typically find at your local Asian grocery store. They both have their own texture and slightly different flavor profile, which will both complement the soup perfectly. This darker brown bamboo shoot is much more fibrous and woodsy, and we'll actually need to soak this in water overnight. We'll change out the water several times, as we don't want the flavor of the bamboo shoots to overpower the light broth, so it's really important that we soak, drain, and rinse our shoots really well until the water runs clear. I cycled out the water 3 or 4 times for the darker one. Then these lighter yellow bamboo shoots only need to be soaked in water for a few hours before using, but we'll repeat the cycle of soaking, draining, and rinsing with cold water a few times to get these ready to use. When the shoots are ready, I'm just going to shred this by hand. And then for the yellow ones, since these come shredded, I'll just cut these down to size. So to a pot of boiling water, we'll add some salt and drop in our bamboo shoots. I'm gonna let this come back up to a boil and let that simmer for 10 to 15 minutes. Then I'll drain it and rinse with cold water. And then I'm gonna repeat this step 2 or 3 times. And again, the flavor of these shoots are really strong, so I wanna make sure that our broth stays really light and clean. So it's really important that we do repeat these boiling cycles. And if you like this recipe and you want to learn how to make more of your favorite Vietnamese and Asian dishes, make sure you subscribe and turn on your notifications to stay up to date on all my latest posts. We'll do this for both the dark brown and yellow bamboo shoots. And alternatively, you could actually save a ton of time by using either canned or fresh bamboo shoots instead. When these bamboo shoots are done cooking, the last step in processing them is lightly sauteing them to impart more flavor. First, we'll get some shallots minced. Add that to a pan with some oil. Drop in some minced garlic, and we'll saute that until it's fragrant. And then we'll add in our bamboo shoots. And some of my footage got lost, but I'm seasoning this with fish sauce, sugar, chicken bouillon, and some salt and pepper. And we just need to cook this for a couple of minutes. And then we'll repeat this step with the yellow bamboo shoots. Now, if you're using both these bamboo shoots like me, you can actually combine it to make it easier, but I do like keeping them separate so my guests can pick and choose exactly how much of each one they want in their bowl. When both the shoots are done cooking, I'll just move this into a container and put that aside. The next step is making our soup. Now this is a whole duck with the feet and head still attached to it, and I'm just gonna scrub this with some kosher salt and ginger that I minced up. We'll scrub this really well and then rinse with cold water, and we'll repeat this step a couple of times as this will help remove some of the duck's foul odor and keep our broth clean. We'll get our clean duck into a pot of boiling water. Then I'm just gonna char up some onion and ginger, and I like doing this on a dry pan for a few minutes to get this to char up. But if you do have an open fire range, that actually works much better. And alternatively, you could also broil this in the oven. We'll get our charred onion and ginger into the pot. We'll bring that up to a boil, skim off the impurities, and then I'm gonna let that simmer covered on low for 30 to 45 minutes or until the duck is cooked through. And I did end up separating the feet and the neck from the duck because my pot's a little bit too small, so don't be like me and get a bigger pot. When the duck is cooked, we'll pull it from the pot, refill our pot with water, and bring this back up to a boil and let that simmer while we make everything else. Once I've pulled the duck, I'm just gonna soak that in some cold water for 10 or 20 minutes to help the skin tighten up. When the duck has cooled, I'll process the duck by separating the quarters and breast. Then we'll slice our duck into pieces, and I'll leave the drumstick whole for the aesthetic. We'll get our duck into a container and we'll put that aside and make our noodles. We're just using standard vermicelli noodles today, and my go-to brand is this Old Man Quay Hung. It's what my mom has used my entire life, and the quality of these noodles are always really consistent. To a pot of boiling water, we'll add a splash of oil and some salt. We'll drop in our noodles and let that cook for 6 minutes. Then I'm gonna cover the pot, remove it from the heat, and let this sit in the hot water for another 6 minutes. After a total of 12 minutes, I'll drain the noodles and rinse it with cold water to stop the cooking process. And then I'm just gonna toss that in a bit of oil to prevent the noodles from sticking together. And that's how I get my vermicelli noodles cooked perfectly al dente every single time. Bun Mang Vit is always served with goi, and it's actually my favorite part of the meal. It's bright, fresh, and the ginger fish sauce dressing is absolutely perfect. We'll start by finely shredding some cabbage. And then I have a white onion that I'll just thinly slice. And I'll soak this in some cold water to remove some of its bite. And then for our herbs, we'll cut up some green onions. Finely chop some cilantro. And this is rau ram, or Vietnamese coriander, and it's actually my favorite herb. If you've never had rau ram before, it has a very distinctive peppery and slightly citrusy flavor profile, and it adds a ton of earthy aromatic qualities to any dish. I'm just gonna take the leaves off the woodsy stem and we'll chiffonade them into ribbons. To assemble our salad, we'll start with a bed of our cabbage. Top that with white onions. Sprinkle over our green onions. cilantro, fried shallots, and of course our rau ram. Then for our ginger fish sauce dressing / dipping sauce, we'll peel some ginger and mince that up. We'll get that into our mortar. Then I have some Thai chilies, we'll thinly slice that, and I like it extra spicy, so we'll put a ton into our mortar as well. Then we'll just beat that up into a paste. Now, if you're sensing a theme, it's that all my tools and equipment is probably a little bit too small. I live in a small apartment and we have extra limited storage space, so all of it is too small for its own good. So we'll have to make this sauce in batches as well, but we'll just get our ginger and Thai chilies into a container. We'll add some sugar. We'll pour in our fish sauce, and you already know Three Crabs is my favorite brand. Then we'll add the juice of a lime. Give that a good mix and make sure that it is seasoned to your liking. We'll serve our salad with a side of the ginger fish sauce, which will be used to dress our salad, but also to dip our duck in. Now, the very last step in making our Bun Mang Vit is seasoning our broth and assembling our bowl. This broth has been simmering for about an hour to an hour and a half, and I'm just gonna remove everything from the pot. And then we'll season our broth with a nub of rock sugar, MSG, and fish sauce. And check out how clean that broth looks though. And then the last bit is just adding in some of our cooked bamboo shoots to help it impart some of its flavor to the broth. Make sure you give it a taste and adjust your seasonings accordingly. And then it's time to assemble our bowl. We'll drop in some of our vermicelli noodles, some green onions, cilantro. I'll add in both kinds of our bamboo shoots. And of course, our duck. I'll drop in some of the breast and a drumstick for good measure. We'll ladle in some of our beautiful broth. Garnish with white onions. Some fried shallots. And we'll finish our bowl with our rau ram, some Thai chilies to burn your booty hole, and some black pepper. Serve this up with our goi, and just like that, you've made your very own Bun Mang Vit at home. As always, the full recipe and measurements is on my blog at feedthepudge.com. And if you've made it this far, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy.